Hello and welcome to All About Autism, our monthly charity show here on London Greek Radio, aimed at helping us all understand autism better so that we can together create a better society for autistic people and the whole autism community. My name is Dr. Chris Papadopoulos. I'll be your host for the next hour until 8 p.m. I'm a father of three children, two of which are autistic, and the founder and lead of the London Autism Group charity. As always, I'm joined by my two lovely co-hosts and charity volunteers, Dr. Sophia Christophi, who is herself autistic, and Ellie Kolatsi, a parent of an autistic child. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Yeah? All good?
Had an interesting few weeks, which I think will fit quite well with today's topic.
Yeah, today's topic is going to be about the difficulties that families and autistic people might experience when travelling for their summer holidays. So we're going to be talking about those particular challenges. We'll offer some advice for such situations, and we'll also be talking about how the travel industry might be able to become more inclusive and supportive to support autistic people and their families. So just a reminder also that if you'd like to share or ask anything about this topic with us and discuss it live on air, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can do it really easily by going to facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. That's facebook.com London Autism Group Charity. Just click on the live stream that you'll see when you visit the page, and yeah, you'll be able to see us live on camera just over there. So hello. So if you have any questions or any comments, you can just put them in the live stream. So we've got Sophia here who is monitoring that, so please do feel free to ask questions and get involved in the discussion should you like to, and we'll have this live stream recorded and kept on our YouTube channels and our social media channels so that you can go back to it later on. So I'd also like to point listeners to our charity YouTube channel. That's the London Autism Group Charity YouTube channel, which has all of our past episodes, all about autism episodes. So if you've ever missed a show and you want to catch up, that's where you want to go. To find that, just go to YouTube and search for London Autism Group Charity. Probably best to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes that we upload there. All right, so before we get into the conversation, so Ellie, I didn't ask you how you are. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, just trying to get through the end of the term, and yeah. Good.
Yeah, end of school term.
End of school term.
Yeah. Have you been watching the football?
No.
Not into football, Sophia?
No.
Oh, I'm on my own on that one. Okay, well, shame Cyprus and Greece aren't there, but what can we do? Yeah, it's been pretty good watch, pretty good distraction, at least. But anyway, let's get into the focus of today's episode. So, Ellie and Sophia, what are some of the challenges that families and autistic people might experience when travelling for their summer holidays?
There can be quite a lot of challenges. There are challenges kind of leading up to going on holiday, so the actual going on holiday. There can be challenges whilst you're on holiday, and there can be challenges coming home as well. So I think one of the big things about going away is obviously the big disruption to an autistic person's routine. So for some people they'll need a lot of preparation in terms of leading up to going away, what to expect. Then there's the whole, if you're flying, obviously at the airport, that can be a sensory nightmare. The airports are, a lot.
Yeah, we'll come back to the airports, but I think it might be interesting to bring up your personal experience because it's relevant. You beginning to indicate what's been happening with you over the past few weeks. You said it was quite interesting. I think it's relevant, isn't it? Because I think one of the challenges is that, the usual kind of family setups and routines get disrupted. And that's happened to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I find going on holiday really difficult, and now that I'm older, I've had the opportunity to not go away this year. But I also find being away from my parents and my support network really challenging too. So I don't know what's worse, going on holiday and struggling with all the different things that go on there, or being left here on my own as I currently am. My parents are in Greece, so if you're listening, I hope you're having a good time. But yeah, it's the first time that I've spent sort of a significant amount of time on my own, and that's had its challenges. There has been some things that have helped. So obviously I'm here, I'm at home, so I've got all my usual comforts, my routines and so on, but I found not having that close contact with my parents on a daily basis really difficult. It feels like it's been the longest 2 weeks of my life. So I guess as an autistic person gets older and they become an adult, then the other issue they may face is not so much with going abroad, but actually staying behind whilst everyone else goes abroad. And I'm still undecided as to which is more anxiety provoking, going away or staying here without my parents. So yeah, it's been tricky, but a good experience, a learning experience, I guess. Yes.
As you were talking, Sophia, it sort of raises my anxiety because, you know, you're kind of in a difficult position. So going away disrupts, and I was just thinking about, you can plan and prepare for most eventualities, but of course life has a habit of not going according to a plan and a schedule. So in my case, I like to have lists and calendars. Calendars are a big one for me. I need to see dates, and we mark off dates. And so from the word of, you know, going away, it's all about, right, it's the countdown. And then when you're actually away, it's also a countdown to going home.
Yeah.
So I think it's a double-edged sword, really, because as much as it's nice and you want to go away and everything's exciting, it can be difficult.
Yeah,
time.
I guess even whilst you're abroad, for some autistic people, like sensory issues around sun creams, if you go to a hot country, that can be challenging. Wearing different clothes to what you normally wear when you're here, the whole kind of food situation. I know of one young person whose parents actually had to pack an entire suitcase of their safe food because they will not eat anything else. So there's kind of additional planning that has to go into going abroad. And then
also
there's
taking your comforts as well.
Yeah, so taking like familiar items that make you feel
Blankets,
kind of connected
pillows.
to home. Yeah. There is so much to consider when you're travelling as an autistic person.
I think typically for neurotypicals, and what we generally sort of get from society when we're being socialised and being brought up, the messages are generally, and I think the experience might be generally the case for neurotypicals, that holidays are a really exciting, fun time to look forward to, and a lot of people will work and you know, have their, you know, daily routines and jobs purely
based around the holiday.
You know, and coping with it to get to the holiday, right? And so they're working for the holiday, right? And they're
get
excited.
back and book another one.
And then when they go there, they're loving it, and it's all about the holiday and blah blah blah. But you know, for the autistic world, I mean, obviously everybody's different, but for the autistic world, we get so many people telling us in the charity that it can actually be a really horrendously anxiety-provoking, stressful time, like among the most scary, difficult times that impacts on people's mental health. You know, I mean, we get a lot of, for example, we'll get a lot of families who tell us that they either can't get their autistic children to accept going on holiday, and so they get left, so they don't go on a holiday, yet they thought they wanted to, as in the parents might have wanted to, or they do go there and they are struggling with everything, and then they have this, like, you know, depression that, God, why did I put myself through this, and how can I cut, and you know, they're not enjoying the holiday as much as they thought they, you know, they've been told that they should. Do you know what I mean? Society says when you're on holiday, you're supposed to have the best time.
Yeah, you're supposed to have fun and relax, and it's all supposed to be like this great thing. But actually, for some of us, it's really hard, and it reminds me of when I was in my early 20s. We went abroad for the first time after a long time since I was much younger, and I had so much anxiety around the whole airport experience, which I actually coped with fine. I thought that that was going to be the biggest hurdle, and that once I got there I'd be okay. But actually once I got there I wasn't okay, and I struggled so much that I ended up coming home early, 5 days early with my brother, because I just couldn't settle. It was like a 2-week holiday, and it was just, the anxiety was so high, I wasn't even functioning. So yeah, I guess it's also, sometimes the challenges are the things that you don't think are going to be the challenges as well, and then you feel a bit unprepared and caught off guard and things.
But again, that's what I was saying at the beginning, where you can prepare as much as you can, and then when you're actually doing the thing, it's the thing that you thought was going to cause you the most stress, but actually doesn't. It's the other thing which you kind of less prepared for. And
now with the travel industry, it also feels like there's so many more delays and cancellations than you ever used to hear of.
That's what gives me the anxiety, the delays.
And that's what happened to us last year when we went to Cyprus as well on our flight home. So I'm ready at this point. I'm ready to go home, and we were waiting there for ages. The flight had been delayed for ages, and I knew that they were going to say eventually that it was going to be cancelled because it was too late to fly. And then literally midnight it was cancelled. We got put in this random hotel. They take your passports off you because you're not actually guests there, and the whole thing was just worse than I could have imagined. So now that I've experienced that, it's something that I think about for every future journey. Because now I'm like, oh, it can happen. But obviously, you know, flights can get cancelled and things, but until it actually happens, it was not a fun experience.
Again, like, you know, going back to the point, I think a lot of families, they just have completely given up on holidays. You know what I mean? And you know, if you're,
but it's quite easy to do that. It's when you think and you think it's this, you think, well, where's the enjoyment? How can I? When you kind of separate all of the journey, the packing, the actual going, the heat, the sensory, all of those things to consider. I mean, it's not all terrible, it's not all doom and gloom, but it's you need to consider and think about what's in the best interest of yourself and your children and young people.
I think the other thing that comes up quite a lot as well is that here we've become much better in airports in recognising neurodivergence, and there's like the hidden disability lanyard, and lots of people find the airport experience here to be much smoother than what it used to be. But then when they go abroad, the understanding of autism in whichever country they go to might not necessarily be what it is here, so the journey home can end up being tricky.
I must say that we went to Cyprus last year, and they were actually very good. I must say that. Big up. Paphos Airport. Because honestly, the journey was okay. It was just that my son hates flying. that was tricky, but it was pretty okay. I'm just wondering if anyone else had that experience over there in any of the airports. It'll be interesting to, if any of the listeners could get back, or wherever they've gone, to hear about that.
I think there's definitely been improvements with things like not having to sort of queue, so like the priority check-ins, being able to go either first or last on the plane depending what your preference is. So there have been attempts to make the airport less of a sort of stressful experience. Lots of airports now have got pictures on their websites as well of what it looks like, what happens when you go through security. So there's much more sort of information available for you to be able to know what to expect.
Some airports like have sensory rooms, don't they? And, but they often, I find that the sensory rooms are often quite overwhelming as well. And so they're not really implemented in the way that I guess they would have wanted or ideally would have happened. But maybe that we just need more sensory rooms. There's less overwhelming activity in each one.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, like, not to go too off topic, but with sensory rooms is, I think people have misunderstood what the point of a sensory room is, and instead they just have a room with every sensory experience going on at the same time, but actually it should have sensory experiences that you can have some control over. So if you need light, there's lights. If you need sound, there's sounds, but kind of not just you walk in and it's all happening all at once, because you might as well just stay in the airport at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and it's just the airport generally. I've always found as a parent taking my autistic children, just the scariest part, really, the most anxiety for me personally, because when my eldest was younger, and we're talking, when he was like 4, 5, 6, he was a runner, and so in an airport it is so dangerous because he's not really got the sense of sort of danger awareness that,
and it's so busy, you start looking,
and so you're trying to as a parent, I was trying to always sort of bottle up all of my energy, any energy reserves that I had, which were always quite low in a way, because it's quite hard, isn't it, packing and planning and travelling, and then you get there, and so it is anxiety provoking. But like you, once we got on the other side, things were all right. But then we had issues with the aeroplane as well. So my boy, he had like a particular, he had it in his head that he had to sit in the window seat, in the window seat, and he couldn't accept someone else sitting there. So we had to really like plan and work that one out. And sometimes there were times where the flights were oversubscribed, and people were pretty nasty about it. They wouldn't move or make space for you to sit with your young child, and people get a little bit aggressive in those kinds of environments. It's an aggressive environment.
Like, I don't understand why when you're all booking together you don't end up sat together, because it's happened to me and my mum as well. When we went away, we got allocated 2 different seats, and you just think,
why though?
Just have us sat together. And I was much older, and I had to ask this person if he would mind letting me sit next to my mum, because I was anxious. And luckily he was fine with that, and we did swap seats. But that just feels like an avoidable issue. It's just something that shouldn't happen. Yeah.
Okay, I think soon, but perhaps we'll go on a break now. And then when we get back, we'll continue the discussion about some of the challenges, but also our advice to both families, but also autistic adults as well is really important. And also, I think we should talk about what the industry, the travel industry and the tourist industry can do more. So please, if you would like to get involved in this conversation, ask any questions or leave any comments, feel free to go to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. Do click on the live stream of the episode, put in your questions and comments, and we'll pick them up. And stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
LGR, London Greek Radio.
Εσύ έχεις κατεβάσει στο smartphone ή tablet σου την εφαρμογή του LGR, London Greek Radio 103,3. Μας φέρνει πιο κοντά.
Yes, sir. It's Martin Lee here. Well, you might know us as Donna and Kebab. We're back at Theatre Technis in Camden for our new show, For the Love of Cyprus. In celebration of our Cypriot roots, we've invited
Thank you.
very special guests.
It might be because the microphone wasn't plugged in. People can't hear us. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Let's plug in the microphone. Okay, that should be better now.
www.theatretechnis.com. We look forward to seeing you on the 11th,
Oh my God.
12th, 13th of July.
Professional or what?
For the Love of Cyprus.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, please do feel free to post them in the live stream. Although we're on a break on the radio, you are still live with us, so feel free to get involved on the live stream, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Proudly presents the
the Summer Greekology Day and Night Party. Join us on Sunday, July 7th at Trent.
I think it still would have been working okay. It's just the volume would have been a bit lower.
Accompanied by their band all the way from Greece. Alongside them, special guest star from Athens, Christos Zanbatiste, and our headline DJ, Andreas Michailidis. And star artists Angeliki Dara, Michalis Theodosiou, Eleni C, Katerina Neokleous, Elizabeth Chapman,
Am I welcoming
Yorgos
us back?
Gerasimos, DJ
Yeah.
At that point.
DJ George Michailidis, Samsara Belly Dancer, and barbecue catered by Uncle Tony's Taverna. Due to popular demand, family tickets have now been added exclusively on lgr.co.uk. Family tickets valid from 3 p.m.
Yeah,
until
so
8
welcome
p.m.
us back
only.
maybe, and then,
Under 18s must be accompanied by an adult at all times.
we can come back to the challenges a little bit as well, bring it back in, because there's lots of other challenges maybe we should bring up a little bit more.
Tickets are now live. Head over to lgr.co.uk to purchase your tickets today. Summer Greekology Day and Night Party is proudly sponsored by Apollo Bakery in Finchley and Cockfosters, Selina Quality Food Market, and Vona Law and Uncle Tony's Taverna. Associate sponsor, The Floor Shop.
LGR 103,3 στα FM. Αποκλειστικά.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we
I think he's just muted it.
Oh, the sun is on. You can't hear. Okay.
we've had a comment to say thank you for the microphone. I can hear you all better.
Sorry about that. Mic now working properly. I guess it's tricky to know when we're back in.
We're just like,
Yeah, I just had to disappear and let someone in.
So yeah, if you're listening to this on the live stream, if you do have any questions about travelling in the summer holidays, I guess any holiday really, isn't it? That's the
holiday, yeah.
holidays generally, and the challenges and the difficulties. Any advice or experiences even, feel free to share.
Yeah, and I think also travelling consists of many modes as well. We're focusing on flying, as that seems to be like the biggest one, but even sort of going on public transport, trains, buses,
driving,
have their own challenges.
Yeah, airports are pretty horrendous though, aren't they?
Yeah.
When was last time you've been to an airport, Sophia?
Last year. Yeah, and our flights got cancelled and I haven't been back since. I mean, but then some train stations now as well are extremely busy. Like I went to Liverpool Street and I could have just been at an airport as well. It was so busy. So many different, like Bank Station has about 16 exits, which just felt really unnecessary.
That is annoying. Why would you have so many exits? Like, why?
Yeah.
When was the last time you've been to
last year?
Airport?
Last year, yeah. It wasn't too bad. I was dreading it, I must say. Yeah. The one before Anthony got frisked, can you believe it? He was the one chosen to get patted.
Really?
Yeah, we have a joke in my family as well.
Really?
That every time we go to the airport, I'm the one that gets singled out by security and searched.
Always.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's really hard not to kind of, you just stop fidgeting around because you obviously don't want to be touched. So.
Yeah.
Are you saying that on the travel industry could help? Yeah.
I think you're back on there.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we continue, just a reminder to those listening to us that you can also watch us on our live stream, and we have now plugged the microphone in as well, so hopefully you can hear us better too. You can also send in some comments or questions there by going to facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. So Chris and Ellie, I thought we could discuss a little bit more some of the challenges around travelling, but also what we think that the travel industry could do to help make the experience of travelling for autistic people and families more inclusive and supportive.
Well, in terms of advice first, I would say lots of preparation is one of the main things. You know, obviously, if you can get any kind of visual understanding and layout of the environment, like the airport or wherever it is you're going, the holiday, the hotel, as much kind of information that you can present to yourself or your child or whoever it is, that's going to help, isn't it? The more information, the more
Definitely
aware of what lies ahead. And then the other thing I would say that in terms of advice and help is, there's a few things I would say, but one of the main things is like try to plan it with your autistic family members. Do you know what I mean? Like lean into their particular interests as well, I would say. So if they've got, you know, a love of, I don't know, trains and whatever it might be, you know, then perhaps try to find some place wherever it is you're going that has that you can build into the routine and the schedule, perhaps. And just essentially build it, co-produce it basically with your loved ones.
Giving them some control. I think that always helps if they know that they are able to have some kind of control, and they know, as Chris said, where they're going, visuals, the hotel or the apartment or where they're staying. Lots of pictures really help. It helped us anyway.
Definitely having some control over the situation is something that makes going abroad more bearable for me. So being able to go back to the same hotel, which we frequently do, that in itself makes a big difference as to whether I feel like I can go or not. Also having some control over how long we go for. So I know for me, being away from home for 2 weeks is too much, whereas 7 days I can manage, because I think even if my anxiety reaches its highest point, it's only 7 days, and I can kind of put strategies in place to manage it for that length of time. Any longer than that, it becomes challenging. So definitely sort of involving the autistic person in planning the holiday helps. But a situation that I came across recently, which I hadn't thought about as much, was a parent of an autistic child who did all of this planning and preparation for their young person. The young person went on holiday, enjoyed it, had a great time, but actually struggled coming back. And the parent hadn't considered planning the transition home as much, because they thought, well, they're just coming back to everything they know. But actually that young person had such a good time abroad that they then found that adjustment coming home quite difficult. So I think planning has to be done both ends for going and for coming home.
Point.
You can forgive them though, can't you?
Point.
I mean, it's understandable.
Definitely. But I think obviously we discussed this as well, for some people, if they're struggling at school or, you know, they're not having a particularly good time and then they go abroad and it's very enjoyable for them, the idea of coming back to these sorts of struggles can be quite challenging.
I agree. I think also I think everyone sort of needs to be talking about it as well. Like
more awareness.
The more awareness, so nobody's sort of left out, or I didn't know that was happening. So involve everyone in the conversation, that where you're going, it always helps to know where you're going. You know, this is where we're going, this is the...
Do you find, Ellie, that do you think you and your family would benefit from having more people travelling, that more family members and friends, your supportive kind of network travelling with you? Would that help, or does that complicate things more?
I never thought about that. It would probably help actually, because it take the strain off a bit. And I know my son would probably like to talk to more than he gets fed up of me anyway, so I'm being
I'm gonna get fed up with you.
Yeah, oh, definitely. To broaden his range of conversation with other people. So I think that probably would help. But who wants to come? Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I don't know.
sometimes
What about
that
you,
helps.
Sophia?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I think, strangely enough, if I went on holiday with you, for example, and your family and your children, I think I would cope better because I would feel like I wouldn't want to show the younger children that I'm anxious and struggling, particularly if I think they're anxious and struggling.
But would that help you though?
Yeah, because
that
I
would
would
help
feel
you.
like I have sort of a job to do
Oh,
or
okay,
a role.
yeah, okay.
I'm not very good at sort of just going on holiday and not having any structure. Like I can't just sit at the beach
No.
Focus,
every single
yeah.
day and
There
just
needs to be
think about
same. Yeah.
because I just find that too unsettling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm much better at having someone that I feel I need to kind of help,
Yeah.
and it helps me. So yeah, maybe we can go on holiday
Yeah, we're
together.
going on holiday. What about you, Chris? What do you think?
Yeah, I personally definitely
Yeah.
benefit from more people
Okay.
around because you just feel more supported. You feel like you've got people to lean on and get help if things go wrong because things can go
Yeah.
wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So it's just I personally think so long as they're people that you can trust and you feel that they'll get it, they won't. Obviously, they're not going
they're
to
safe,
judge
yeah.
you because some people might not get it and they might might kind of give the wrong perception. But I think personally that's another bit of advice. Like consider whether or not going with supportive people.
Safe people
might help you. Safe people. Other autistic families for sure. Just go together as a group. The other thing I wanted to say about all this, which I think is important, is that if you're an autistic person or a parent of an autistic child or an autistic parent of an autistic child, and you're really anxious about the prospect of going on holiday, and you just can't do it. Do you know what I mean? You can't face it, and you just can't. And you see all of your family members and your friends go off, and you can't bring yourself to do it, and whatnot. My sort of message would be don't like beat yourself up about it. Like it is absolutely okay, and understandable, and nobody should really judge you. No one's in your shoes, and you've just got to look after your own mental health and put what you need first over what society thinks you should be doing. Because the idea of going on a holiday,
pressure,
summer holiday,
isn't it?
that's pressure
Yeah.
that we get and expectations that we get from society.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that would be the other thing, just to don't beat yourself up about it. Try to sort of accept if you can the realities and make the best of it.
No, that's a good point, because also picking up what you said, Sophia, about it doesn't have to be a long haul or getting on a plane. It could be just packing your bag and getting on a train and
Yeah, so you could even like do it in stages. If your ultimate goal is to go abroad, maybe you could go
Exactly.
away like a staycation and see how that goes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be you're going to go abroad for 2 weeks and it's a too much in one go. Some of my favourite times where I've been away have been just being here. Because things feel a bit more familiar. Also, a big thing for me is being able to take my dog with me, which you can't just put them on the plane and take them with you. So when we holiday here, being able to go somewhere, take the dog, that's a much more enjoyable experience for me than it is going abroad necessarily. So a holiday looks different to different people, and
Exactly.
you have to make your holiday what it means for you.
But it's easy, I think, especially maybe in the Greek community, to think, it's got to be a certain way. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be go to Cyprus or the Greece, visit your family members, spend hours with them, go to the beach.
Yeah, that sounds stressful.
And do all
And
these
that
things.
can be challenging as well.
Yeah,
actually,
for sure.
the expectation of when you do visit somewhere like Cyprus or Greece, the expectation to visit family members that you might not always see. That can be quite hard because you end up sort of going away and then travelling all over the place as well.
In the heat.
Yeah.
Because we tried that and it was a disaster because they didn't know where they were going in the village and the smells were different.
Yeah.
Very different. So again, do what feels good for you. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. If they say come and we want to see, let them come to you.
Yeah.
You know, I think travelling in the heat, in the height of, you know, the summer sun, and going somewhere where you know that it's not going to work, don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
There can also be some anxiety around how much people understand autism as well when you go abroad.
Yeah.
So I remember when we went to Greece for that year that I was really struggling, and we were talking to the people in the hotel, and I said that I'm autistic. They were a bit like,
Yeah.
you can't be autistic. Their idea of autism was not what I was presenting to them at all. So then it felt like
How long ago
I'm
was
even
that? Sorry,
even more misunderstood. So that would have been 8 years ago.
Oh, 8 years. Well, last year someone said to Anthony, he doesn't look autistic.
Yeah.
So that was just last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, you're a bit like...
And I think it just adds to all that sort of, you already feel kind of vulnerable, and then you're trying to talk to people and get some support, and it's not reciprocated in any way because the understanding's not there. I think for me that just makes me feel even more like I'm really far away from home. And as soon as I start thinking about how far away from home I am, it really starts to freak me out a little bit, especially because it's the whole, like, it's not just the case of getting in your car and driving 3 hours and you're back. There's a whole, you have to go to the airport, you have to get on a plane. It's not, you can't just go home quickly.
And then it starts to get bigger and bigger, doesn't it, the issue?
Yeah, definitely. It spirals quite quickly.
I think it might be good now to focus a little bit more on what the industry and the travel industry and the tourist industry more broadly can do to support us. So maybe we can have a little chat about that. But just before we talk about that, it's very timely. We have a comment here from Mame, Oda, thank you, Mame, on our live stream, and she says, when not going away, holiday activities and food programs lack additional funding for our children, which brings us nicely into our conversation about what else can the travel industry and holiday kind of businesses do to support
not a lot
autistics. Yeah.
I think it's really poor, actually, because it's if you do find something like that, there's always clauses, or it's always on a day that isn't the day that you want, or it's complicated, or it's something that isn't accessible that's supposed to be accessible. That's what we've found.
Yeah, like flights are always at these kind of ridiculous times that kind of affects everyone's sleep schedule, and that in and of itself is like a barrier to begin with. But it sounds like from the comment that we've just had is that there also needs to be more done here for people that can't go away. There doesn't seem to be any provisions like holiday clubs or food programs, those sorts of things for people that can't go abroad and should be able to access a holiday, whatever that looks like.
What else do you think the industry can do, Ellie?
I definitely think that on the websites and things, online things, there should be more information and easy to read. It's not like press 10 tabs to get to the accessibility page. I find that as well really irritating. So it should be really straightforward, where it's plain simple language, easy to read, and it just sets out what you need to do. Pictures as well. Pictures already made, set up for you, print off, and just go with it.
Yeah, you raise a really good point, because a lot of times there is information available on websites, but the difficulty is like finding it and accessing it and understanding it. Maybe it's not clear and it's all buried. So maybe, one thing that could be done is to have more disability leads, so to speak, or that you can sort of contact directly. So instead of going digging on on Heathrow Airport's website as to what info they've got on all this, maybe there's a disability lead that Heathrow appoints, or in that region that you could contact, and this person has all of the information, hopefully might be autistic themselves as well, and can really answer all your questions, provide all the info, and that sort of thing. So I think I personally think a greater presence of disabled
Yeah.
and autistic people
People
working
working.
in the industry,
Yeah.
supporting, you know, people travelling, families travelling, people travelling, would be
And also
really
on the
nice. We
ground,
don't see it at the moment.
when
I
you
never
go-
see that.
I imagine
Yeah.
that's because it is kind of such a chaotic industry. It probably doesn't
Yeah.
attract many neurodivergent people
Yeah.
working there because it is so sort of unpredictable and can be chaotic. But as you just mentioned now about assistance, it's just reminded me that actually a lot of airlines, when you book special assistance, the automatic assumption is that it's for mobility needs.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
mobility, that's right.
So I think, you know, sometimes you say yes, you need special assistance, and then you go to click what you need from the the sort of
Yeah.
drop down list, but what you need isn't there
Yeah.
because they've assumed you might need wheelchair or you know, anything else. There's not really much geared towards
Yeah.
sort of neurodivergence.
Mm. And learning disability as well.
Yeah.
There's very little, isn't
Yeah.
there, in terms of how to support
Or just even borrowing headphones or something simple like that, you know, on your way in, put them on, and perhaps when you're getting on the plane, or you can have them, and just stuff that is just quite simple but thoughtful.
Yeah.
Those small things that you just think, oh,
It is always the
That's
small
helpful.
things, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I think that, again, like where we've talked about accommodations in workplace or school or now travel, there's this assumption that it has to be these big
things,
changes
big
that are going to
changes,
cost
yeah.
loads of money, but
Yeah.
actually often it's really tiny things that you can put in place that make such a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, and it, you know, how reassuring would it be if there was a good disability lead that you could contact, and the disability lead can assure you as well that their staff in
Yeah,
Heathrow
knowledgeable,
all have
know,
appropriate training and you know, understand autism and neurodiversity and disability. You know, give a little bit of reassurance
Yeah.
that these people have had training. You know, I mean, what kind of training do these? That would be the other thing that I
Yeah.
would point to. You know, where
what training?
I mean, I know training isn't always necessarily going to be that effective, but I'd rather be told that, you know, they get this type of training from time to time than
They've had some
nothing.
instead of the lanyard
Yeah.
around their neck.
Yeah, we almost need to like compile a list of neurodivergent friendly
we should
holiday
do that.
destinations or
Yeah.
places that neurodivergent families have been to and felt well supported
Yeah.
that they can then recommend to other
Yes.
families.
Some sort of catalogue of
Yeah, because it's really hard when you're picking a hotel online to know when you get there what sort of support's going to be available.
Yeah,
And I
if
guess
they're like
it's-
children
Yeah,
or young people.
exactly. And I guess it can become even more of a barrier if you don't speak the same
Yeah,
language.
same language,
So like
yeah.
we're fortunate if we go to Cyprus or Greece, we can communicate. But that's something
Really?
that's something that would make me anxious. Going
Yeah.
somewhere where I can't communicate would be a
Yes,
big
exactly
big thing for me.
big barrier, isn't it?
I remember coming back from holiday once, and we were in the queue to get seen at the passport control.
Oh, yeah.
So we were back home and we were waiting to get seen by passport control. Huge line of people, and slightly ahead of us, was you know, a family with an autistic child, and you know, the child was really struggling with this queue, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, there were staff members. I remember there were general staff members around, you know, the people that direct people to
Yeah.
join certain queues. And I went up to them, I said, why don't you help that family? Why can't the family just skip ahead?
Yeah.
Like, that child is struggling. Why can't
Oh, that's a shame.
they just skip ahead and go to the front? And they didn't want to know. They didn't want to help. Nothing.
Oh, we've had a different
Yeah.
experience. They actually pulled us out of the queue.
Of the passport.
Yeah, and they made us go through this VIP section.
What airport was that?
Stansted, I must
Oh,
say,
Stansted.
we've had really good experiences there. I
Yeah.
cannot fault them. They've really
It's too much
managed-
inconsistency,
It
because how
is.
can it be if Stansted can get it right,
Yeah, no.
then there's
Yeah.
no reason why other
No,
airports
absolutely.
can't get it right.
In fact, we were queuing up and we're a bit like, oh, we're supposed to do this. We're not sure, you know. It's exactly in that. Where are you supposed to go if you're not instructed? But they obviously saw us, and the kids had the lanyard or little bangles, whatever, and they pulled us out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need more of.
yeah,
People that can identify
yeah, that's
who
right.
needs the support
because-
and kind of put it in place without you feeling like you need to go and look
And
for it and
ask,
find
yeah,
it and
yeah.
who do you ask and what do you ask for.
Yeah.
But it sounds really good that they
Yeah.
were able to kind of use their initiative.
Stansted.
Yeah.
I'd recommend.
Well, we're getting to the end of the show. It's
Oh.
already, what time is it? It's 7:50, so we've got probably another 5 minutes. So if you've got any questions, any final questions or comments, let's have a quick look. I've got some comments here. Raising awareness and reducing fares. Yeah, holidays are very expensive.
Very
My
expensive.
goodness.
That's another issue.
Yeah, but you know the point of raising awareness is a good one as well, just on a broader scale.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
always.
just society being more kind and aware of the difficulties that the community
I think we
might
need to go a bit beyond that.
Yeah.
I think we've got the awareness. I think we need the acceptance and the
Yeah.
spaces where we're allowed to just be and not worry and even think, oh
Yeah.
goodness, they're looking, or just leave us.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
But do you get the sense that the general public, when it comes
No.
to travelling abroad and going on holiday and having these experiences, do they really know what it's like for autistic people and the families? Like, you know,
No, and
No,
I
I
also
think
think,
they're
that they're so
completely-
concerned about their
yeah.
own kind of trip
Oh,
that
yeah.
they don't really consider how difficult it might be for other people. It's almost like because it's not affecting them,
Of course,
then
yeah.
it's not their problem.
But-
But
yeah,
that's
So maybe
as a
just-
society we need to be a bit
Yeah.
more kind
I
of.
mean,
more-
even bringing it closer on a bus journey is blooming hard. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm on the airport. Everyone seems to be a bit like, what's going on there on the plane? It feels everyone's on high alert, doesn't it?
yeah,
So if anyone creaks or cracks or a baby sort of makes a noise, it's like, what's that? What's that?
We also had a point made to us that sometimes when people are on holiday, they see restaurants saying, you know, only adults allowed, or you've got to be presented in a certain way, no children allowed in the restaurants, and that can be really intimidating and very
Yeah.
kind of discriminatory in a way. I mean, obviously there are going to be some requirements in certain restaurants, but at the same time we've got to be inclusive, right? We can't be putting up too many walls up, you know.
yeah,
So people have got to feel safe. So, you know, as in terms of restaurants and that kind of industry, they need to be thinking about how they can be more
sure.
inclusive as well. Because I mean, we spend our time a lot in the restaurants when we go abroad,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
we? Yeah.
yeah. And you can imagine going to a restaurant here and there'd be a sign saying like children only allowed in if they're well behaved.
Yeah,
Everyone would kind of
Yeah, of
be
course.
outraged by that, but that does happen abroad, and then kind of it excludes a big community of people, especially
yeah.
people with learning disabilities, people who might not be able to communicate, who might make noises. You know, it's they're entitled to be in that space
Yeah,
as well,
it's-
and I think it's really sad that there's actual signs up telling people that they can't come in.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's what we've been told in
Yeah.
terms of experiences. That's really, really bad.
Yeah,
That'll
that's
just put
quite
you off.
shocking, actually.
Yeah, that'll put you off. Other little bits and pieces in terms of what people have told us are that to deal with this issue, some families have bought caravans. That's what I've heard. That where they'll only use their own caravan or their own holiday home. So if they're going into the holiday phase, it's a familiar environment every time. So that's another potential. I mean, if you have the option of perhaps leaning into something like that, a holiday home that you can routinely use consistently, that could be quite good for perhaps your situation potentially, or a caravan. But that's you having to sort of make the solutions yourself.
Yeah.
The industry has to support
Yeah, sure.
everybody.
Yeah.
So what other questions and comments have we got? Invisible disability makes things difficult to accept is a comment.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, wasn't it? Sophia,
Yeah.
about, a disability. It's got to be a physical one,
Yeah.
not one that actually is not visible.
Yeah, and you still get people say things like, "You
Are
don't
you
look
sure?
autistic,"
Are you sure?
and it's just you just think,
I
yeah,
think so.
it's challenging when people.
Well, you have to explain. That's the awkward part, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So training staff, more awareness, I'd say more quiet and appropriate sensory areas in airports and not just airports, but I suppose hotels as well could benefit.
I think they
from things
need
like
to
that.
share good practice, as you
Share
said.
good
There's just
practice,
loads
yeah.
of inconsistencies. So, as I was saying, we've had a good experience at Stansted, and I've heard some really awful things in Heathrow, which is really busy and which really should be making that more of a difference. Because you think so many people are passing, you think, oh, let's make this a better environment for all, an inclusive one for all.
Yeah, I mean, airline industry is never going to do it, obviously, because it would cost them a lot of money. But I'd love to see a time when perhaps a section of an aeroplane is made a little bit, you know, sort of cordoned off and you know, more sensory friendly, or
Is there
perhaps
any airplane
calmer.
designers out there?
Because aeroplanes are really, really stressful, because you're trapped in that environment for however many hours, and you're just hoping that you've got kind, considerate, reasonable people around you that get it, and that isn't always the case.
No, that isn't.
So you know, and it'd be nice if perhaps the stewards, you know, when they're doing their initial pre-flight talk about safety and this and that, you know, why not also say, and by the way, be kind and reasonable to people around you, because you don't know, you know, what people are going through. You don't hear that either, do you? From
No, and sometimes it does need to be kind of spelt out like that
Yeah,
as
it
well. I
does.
think. I think we need a little focus group
Yeah,
to
we
get
do.
a group of neurodivergent people to describe what their ideal holiday would be and what it would look like, and then take it to the airlines and see if we can make some of it happen.
Excellent idea.
All right, well, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of today's show. Our next show will take place on the 1st of August at 7 p.m, which, as always, is the first Thursday of the month. We'll be live streaming the show again on our charity Facebook page, which is facebook.com/London Autism Group Charity. So feel free to stop by and say hi or ask a question during the show. I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to, you can pop into one of our charity community cafes in Southgate, Islington, Ealing, Woodford and Grays in Essex. We also have an activity day for autistic adults in the Holy Sepulchre Church in the City of London by Holborn Viaduct. All of the information about these events can be found on our website, which is londonautismgroupcharity.org. That's londonautismgroupcharity.org. You can also find the recordings of these episodes on our YouTube channel by just searching for the charity London Autism Group Charity on YouTube. Thanks again to my lovely co-hosts Sophia and Ellie. Also thanks to Tony Neofido for helping with everything in the background, James Gordon for his editorial input, and of course all of our lovely listeners. And finally, stay tuned for the amazing Andonis Brocopio, who's up next. Thank you very much. Have a good month.
Bye.